So my friends, it continues. I have the spoilers for the current One Piece chapter, and it's getting really heated on Elbaf. IMU is turning more and more giants into demons, but it's already looking good again on the one hand. After months, we finally get to see Luffy's group again. They meet Scopper Gaban, they're preparing for the fight against IMU, and at the end of the chapter, they set off. Of course, a lot more happens. Leave a thumbs up. We're diving in the video, I wish you a lot of fun. So chapter 1151 is titled, I Understand Now, which refers to a line from Luffy, which I find very strange and raises a small question mark here. We'll talk about that in a moment. Cover page, still Yamato's story, how she's now doing some sumo contest and looks at the cover. Okay, then it continues. This almost apocalyptic mood on Elbaf is directly carried on. Last time the thing was, they sent this demon army of giants onto Jarul, onto the western village in Elbaf, and it doesn't say anything here about Jarul or that he's fighting or anything. It only says here that, as mentioned, IMU is still turning more giants into demons. So the army is getting bigger and more dangerous, which is extremely bad. And these are really not your average soldiers, you really shouldn't see it that way. This is really bad. That's why it could also be that Jarul has been turned into a demon here. And more nightmare monsters from killing him are shown and created, which still come from the dreams of the children, while in turn. Then we also see Killingham, one of the Holy Knights. He's now finally in his hybrid form. He spawned directly on Elbaf in his full devil fruit form. And now we see him in his hybrid form. He finally has a human face. We can see what he looks like. So exciting when the chapter finally comes out. He has really sharp teeth. I'm curious if he's kind of like Bartolomeo. And then we get a mini flashback, so it's not extremely far back, showing something, but how Scopper Gaban was saved by Chopper. He saved guard point people. We talked about this guard point thing. Of course, he saves him. They fell down, so to speak, into the underworld where Luffy, Loki, Sanji, and Zoro and so on are. And there we also see Luffy, who even senses the presence of Gaban and Chopper. Oh, they're here. So he really has a fine-tuned observation haki now. Not just this future-seeing haki, but also really perceiving the presence of people, like a warzone drone or something. You know what I mean. And a big question mark will probably finally be revealed in this chapter, namely Mosa. Can you all still remember who and what Mosa is supposed to be? If not, I'll jog your memory. There was always an ally, a secret ally, with Loki in the underworld. He was chained to this tree in this snowy underworld for years. He had an ally named Mosa, with whom he talked on the phone, and we don't know where he is. Many thought it was Jarul, his only ally, and he has to stay secret. And I don't know if we'll really get shown here, but I think somehow we will. They call each other again. So Mosa calls Loki this time. One last time, while Luffy and the others are there. And he thanks him for something. So Mosa thanks Loki. I'm wondering, he was chained up the whole time. What's he thanking him for now? And where is he even? They've apparently never even met. Big question mark. I somehow have a feeling that this Mosa will be an important character, but somehow I can't imagine it either. And then we finally get the info. Luffy's group reunites with Chopper and Scopper Gaban. And then there's a conversation, a really cool conversation. I know, maybe for many, it's a bit sobering now that up there the apocalyptic mood is breaking out, and down here it's a bit of this relaxed campfire talk thing again. But that's needed too, because we knew Scopper Gaban has the key to how to bypass these holy knights and this invincibility somehow. So he has to explain it to them somehow. Chopper already recognized it up there, and then they figure it out. Scopper Gaban is from the Roger Pirates, and it's said one of the new giant warrior pirates, who are also there with Hadrudin and so on, says he's supposed to be the third strongest of Roger's crew. And of course that immediately hits a sore spot for Scopper Gaban. It's probably exactly like a Sanji-Zoro relationship, most likely between Rayleigh and him. He says, no, I'm the second strongest, not the third strongest. So it's also this thing that I just love, that he immediately stands up for it, and I don't know what else they discuss in detail. What info gets dropped, or if this key with the haki is even explained here, because that's really a very important point. Then we get a cut back up. IMU uses a different Conqueror's haki here, so a different kind of attack with Conqueror's haki. In the last chapter there was this classic Conqueror's haki, this Conqueror's haki blast, where everyone foams at the mouth and collapses, and now it's apparently something else. Once across all of Elbaf, something that goes straight through marrow and bone. Everyone is shaken, no one knows what it is, and it's really something different, and probably even stronger. And then we get a reaction from Luffy, which is also the title of the chapter. So, I understand now. Luffy says, or rather he senses the haki and then just says into the room that he understands now what's happening or what happened. So I'm wondering now, just through this haki burst from IMU, something was triggered in Luffy that he understands. So the key to fighting the immortality, he doesn't have that yet. And it's not in the spoilers here that Scopper Gaban just explains it to him. And against the giants, Luffy wasn't that good either. They kept regenerating, and he himself said they're invincible. So we have to get out of here fast, no chance. Luffy himself said that because the giants are just too crazy with this regeneration. And that's why I hope they don't just rush off blindly without really knowing that. And we even get at the end of the chapter, Loki says, "You need my help, so after everything that's happened, you need my help in the fight." So he's also ready to fight against IMU now. It even says IMU here, so they're really already talking about IMU. I'm really wondering now if he'll be freed, if we'll finally get Loki's devil fruit power. Please, 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 I absolutely want to know what kind of legendary devil fruit he ate. What happened back then with Harold? So the theories are getting hotter there too. You see him in some panels and so on, and there he already looked like maybe under his weird cape there are demon wings, that he might have been evil too, and not himself anymore, and that's why maybe Loki had to fight against him. Who knows, we don't get anything about that here either. That Loki is freed here now, and joins them isn't confirmed yet either. He just throws it out there, and I think it'll happen like that. Yeah, and Scopper Gaban himself will probably suggest that too, that they need him, and it's supposed to get really crazy, this chapter. So when the full summary drops, so when we know what the chapter fully contains, also the visuals and so on, it's supposed to be even crazier. According to the leakers who gave us this info now. And that's really exactly what we expected, right? There had to be this one chapter where they meet Scopper Gaban in the underworld, and this talk, and then they set off. This cliffhanger that they set off against IMU was somehow obvious. So next week, unfortunately, there's a break. The week after, 11:52 people. So I think our minds will be blown with that chapter. It'll be really crazy because, as mentioned, Zoro and Sanji, who aren't even mentioned here in this chapter, they're going along too. And then we have the new giant warrior pirates, who then have to fight against the old ones who've turned into demons. There's also the question of whether they can even fight against them. So I think Hadrudin himself couldn't even stand a chance against one of these two, so Dory and Broggy, never ever. Generally, even without the demon form, I think one would already be stronger. Now they're somehow 5 times as big, have a devil fruit power, wings, and whatever else. And this regeneration that none of the normal ones there can bypass. So if Luffy, Zoro, and maybe Sanji can still manage it, and Loki maybe, okay, I can imagine if Loki maybe already has experience fighting against this demon form, if his father Harold was really a demon too, and also darkly influenced by IMU maybe back then, and he had to fight against him, maybe he also figured out how to stop this regeneration and is maybe therefore also an important key here in the fight, right? Maybe it won't even be explained by Scopper Gaban here, and Loki just does it in the fight, telling them how they have to do it or something. Because we all know Gear 5 is also very exhausting for Luffy. He can't do it for that long, right? It drains his energy at some point, and there's still the question of whether all the giants won't be teleported back to Mary Joyce, where IMU actually came from, and where the house is burning. In the truest sense, where the giants are actually needed right now. What we didn't mention at all anymore, or what wasn't even in the spoilers now, is that Elbaf is burning too. So the library is burning down in parallel in this chapter, the school too, and with that, the tree will burn down. All of Elbaf will burn down. And what's still up there in the tree canopy in the heavenly realm, we don't even know. There could be really crazy ancient kingdom stuff lying around, or in a poneglyph, or everything will be turned to rubble and ashes. That's why I'm excited. Write in the comments too. We'll dive in again on Thursday when we know a bit more. Leave a thumbs up, that'd be really great, people. I'm out for now. See you and bye.